Hello and welcome everyone in another episode of Researchers Celebrities. And today we have Mr. Kaikho with us. Kaikho has done his bachelor's and master's in plant biology and life sciences. And now Kaikho is a PhD student at NCBS, Bangalore. And thank you very much, Kaikho, for taking time out and sharing your journey with our research community. So, welcome and thanks, Kaikho. We welcome you.
Thank you, Raja. Thank you. Yeah.
So the first question, how we start the conversation is like, when did you decide that you want to be a researcher?
So growing up, research was the last thing which came in my mind. In the school days, I want to become an civil servant. So college days, I was still that having that in mind, and um, only after master, and even after master also, I was not sure of whether I really wanted to do research or do PhD.
Mm-hmm.
So after master, since I did my master in plant science, I joined a botanic garden as a research fellow,
Mm-hmm.
and and so that's where it started. The kind of research work where I started from,
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at plant taxonomy, traveling around, looking plant species, collecting the specimens, bringing it to the lab, and documenting it for the herbariums and so on. So that's how it started, and slowly, uh, yeah, I realized that uh, maybe I want to do research,
Mm-hmm.
and even at that point of time, I was not sure whether I want to do PhD.
Mm-hmm.
So, but since I spent about 1.5 years at Botany Garden, and I realized that I want to pursue further in research, and that's when I started thinking, okay, if I want to do research, maybe not in the kind of work which I'm doing right now at the Botany
Mm-hmm.
Garden, because that Botany Garden work with something very classical taxonomy work, and I want to apply this kind of work in a larger picture in ecosystems level, understanding plants and to study at the ecosystem level. So, but spending time at Botany Garden gave me a base to understand plants,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how, yeah, the interest started picking up from there.
So now, what we can say is like your interest was from the field itself, not just by reading books. And so the true exposure made you felt like, okay, you want to pursue. So here you figured out like the way you expressed it, research and PhD. You kept it very distinct that I want to do a research, but I'm not sure that do I want to do a PhD or not at that point of time. So when you made that, okay, you
Right.
really want to do PhD, how research was a different perspective when it comes to PhD and when it comes to working, doing independent research?
So, like, it can be very different of your own interest. If you have something of your interest, you can sit down and look down into more details.
Mm-hmm.
It can be uh, it can be very wide kind of interest you have, but when it comes to PhD, you started focusing on particular questions you want to answer, and you want to uh, bring it out to the scientific community,
Mm-hmm.
or yeah, in kind of mainstream community, that the kind of work you are doing and publishing it, so and contributing it to the science community. So
Mm-hmm.
that's different, yeah. Otherwise, you also every day you also do research. When you have some kind of ideas in you go back and you want to dig dig into some kind of more information you want to know more about. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's the general difference when you consider research and PhD.
Nice.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Everyone says that when it comes to PhD, they have to answer a specific question. That is the title of your thesis, and that is very well.
Right.
But when you started your PhD and now you are in your fourth year, if you can share how this journey went.
Right. Sure. So, so my interest started moving from the initial point where I'm not sure of whether I want to do PhD and into uh, fall in love what I'm doing right now. So
Mm-hmm.
it was a long journey, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And the base was it's a kind of like from the botanic garden. I have learned the plants at individual levels.
Mm-hmm.
Now I started thinking in the little bigger picture. I want to study them in an ecosystem level. But I was looking of an opportunity, what kind of methods or what kind of techniques I want to study if I want to study this plant species,
Mm-hmm.
plant community in the bigger picture, in the ecosystem level. So
Mm-hmm.
that's when I joined NCBS. And first I joined plant molecular biology lab,
Mm-hmm.
and I was learning molecular techniques like DNA extraction, PCR, and sequencing, and analyzing those
Mm-hmm.
sequence and all. And I realized that since I love I I realized that I want to be in the field more often. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't want my research based in the lab week in week out. So I thought I want to expand these techniques which I have learned in this molecular biology lab,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe want to move to ecology lab so that I can integrate this uh, techniques and the plants which I all plant the understanding of plants which I have already. And I want to integrate these two methods.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like I know the plants and now I know the techniques, and now I move to molecular ecology lab, and what I do right now is integrating uh, molecular techniques into plants to understand evolution of how the plants community evolve out in our systems, in Indian systems. That is the bigger picture
Mm-hmm.
or the other questions which I'm looking at in my PhD work.
Mm-hmm.
How the forests or specifically savannas in India evolve out at evolutionary point of time. So looking through plants
Mm-hmm.
and understanding through plants, I try to answer those questions.
Nice. That is very important, especially given these days when we talk about greenhouse gases, global warming. So plants are the key ingredients there, which can save us and which can help us in a longer run. So, Kaiko,
Very much.
here I want to tell all of our audience that PhD is a training where you obviously attain some skills, but before that also you have some skills which, as Kaiko said, that you have to blend in. There are some things which you know, there are some things which you will learn in a longer run of your due course of your
Right.
PhD. But you have to be open to blend
Hmm.
what all you already know. So Kaiko, when
Right.
said that okay, you have a certain skill set and now you learn some more and you want to blend it to make it more impactful. Is this the way which you suggest that everyone should consider before doing PhD, or this is something which can be attained or can be decided at any point of PhD or even after?
So, to be honest, the kind of education systems we get from the school or college, we are competing with our classmates or colleagues for marks. We were not taught by the systems how to think.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the difference. If we have started having this concept of asking questions and not only running after marks or competing after marks.
Mm-hmm.
So all these things, I started thinking more of this of certain questions only after I came out from the college.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends and the kind of environment you grew up, the family you grew up.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I started from a very humble family
Mm-hmm.
where we don't really discuss science or discuss things in details. The
Mm-hmm.
kind of education systems and we go to college that at the end of the day you get a job and you get settled with some jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole thinking process was to get a job and settle down, and often we don't realize you don't realize how to think of given certain problems.
Mm-hmm.
So if you start breaking down at the early age, or even if you realize late, like me, I in fact, I registered for PhD after 5 years of after my PhD. I mean after my master. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a quite long journey when I registered for PhD, and I was discovering myself slow by slow, and and since I started learning more uh, of the techniques and the kind of questions which I was interested in,
Mm-hmm.
makes me feel I can fit into this community.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's a call you have to take on yourself, that because you can't decide, maybe you are going for master, for undergrad. What
Mm-hmm.
next? You think of master, and after finishing your master, you think what next? Maybe research. you
Mm-hmm.
know it's a kind of trend people used to follow if you don't want to start picking up a job. And if you're following only the trend, if you haven't give a serious thought why you really wanted to be
Yes.
doing what, because that's a kind of big area you have to start seriously considering what you really wanted to be, or whether you want to be in kind of setup where you are working on somebody's dreams and not your dreams, not what you are chasing after, the kind of things you want to pursue in life. So it yeah, it takes lots of thought process going on, and it's very necessary to consider all this before you finalize,
Yeah.
because there are certain times, and I have seen people after entering PhD after 3 4 years
Mm-hmm.
or 5 years, and after that only they realize maybe it's not for me.
Mm-hmm.
So you have wasted enough time there. So yeah, it's quite a challenge. So but it needs to, yeah, no need to hurry, because when you're doing research, I think you need to go at your pace of your understanding, and yeah, that can be more important than picking up and finishing your PhD at 23 or 24.
Yeah.
I would say, yeah,
So, Kako, you
yeah,
brought us to a very important point here. The fundamental, the foundation, when a researcher wants to commit for a PhD, there needs to be done certain work of strong foundation, that because this commitment is a long time commitment. It can be 4, 5, 6, 7,
yeah, yeah,
how it goes. And as you pointed out, that you have seen people quitting after 3 or 4 or 5 years. What you can share that these people, these students, these researchers were passionate enough to carry a thing for 4 years, and then, or for stretching it to 5 years, and then they found out that this is not for them. What, according to you, and
right,
what
right.
you have experienced, what you can say, that what were the key points, or what were the circumstances which made them to quit? Because 3 or 4 years is a lot of time.
Yeah, yeah, very true, very true.
So,
Yeah, so
yeah.
right. So even when I started my PhD, the first 1 2 years, I was fully, committing it. My energy was full, and I realized at one point it become started stagnant, going to that constant going daily to the lab. You're
Mm-hmm.
not sure whether you're progressing or not. Every day you're thinking whether are you doing something really important. You start having all those that you start having all those questions in your head itself.
Mm-hmm.
So what I want to say is, I think it's a lot of personal choices when it comes to uh, things like this, when you take a decisions, and many times, because of the environment where you are, also makes you consider, even though you are really into it,
Mm-hmm.
you find the environment difficult enough to tackle that. Because if given a project, if it is under your control, you can put any effort
Mm-hmm.
to achieve that. But if there is something which is not in your control,
Mm-hmm.
you can push it further. Then that's when people considered, maybe it will be difficult, maybe not here, maybe another, kind of uh, kind of place which I can do better, or another kind of field which I can do better, or another place which I can do better. And that's, you know, uh, and that comes with a lot of uh, what to say, uh, convictions to decide. And many times I have seen people quit just because of the environment, one thing, and that's very important, like the relationship with your mentor, and the kind of things which your initially you thought you and your mentor has the same wavelength and you started together, but then later you realize ki, you know, you are not of the same wavelength. That's when you struggle to communicate. And entering into research, you know, your mentor is like one very important uh, things you have to consider. You have to first things, when you want to do research, you have to do research of what kind of mentor you want or what kind of environment you want, because it's a professional commitment. When you are entering, you are committing your professional uh, relationship with your mentor, and you have to see that person each and every day. So your relationship has to be strong. And many times I see the relationship couldn't go well, and that's when people consider to quit. Yeah, and also sometimes people started realizing much later that maybe I can be better at other fields, not in this. Yeah.
Okay. So, Kaiko, here the 2 points which I understood more was like the understanding between a PhD student and the mentor and the lab environment. These two are the
Right,
points
right.
you just mentioned. And here, a suggestion for all the researchers who are trying or who are considering to do a PhD in their due course, always keep these two things in important, and there are different ways you can hear our various researcher celebrities, their experiences and their guidances, because at researcher celebrity what we do is we celebrate every single researcher. They are from different backgrounds, they are from different age and stages in their career. So you will hear from emeritus professor what they look into a prospective PhD candidate. And as Kaiko said, when you are doing PhD, before joining the lab, and if there is a possibility of rotation, which is now starting in India as a culture, you can
Mhm.
understand the basic level of your adjustment into the environment, lab environment, and your understanding with the mentor, which are very important. So always give the due concern to all these 2 points, and always be attentive
Right.
to understand where
Yeah.
you can adjust well, where you can flourish, because there is nothing called a negative environment or a wrong mentor, wrong PhD student. It is just the way humans work. We can talk to someone very openly, but whereas with others, we might not talk that much. So, Kaiko, going back to the
Yeah.
little bit,
So
yeah, yes, Kaiko.
yeah, adding to that point, yeah. So before, this is the advice which I got from my seniors before I got into PhD.
Mm-hmm,
And the senior told me that when you're considering PhD, consider uh, looking for a mentor as if you are going to look for, looking for your marriage partner,
mm-hmm,
because it's like it's a commitment. It's a kind of relationship, professional relationship you're going to build with that person,
mm-hmm,
and you should be able to express, and then you should be able to accept. So you and it's a commitment of 4 5 years, seeing that person every single day. I mean, every yeah, for that many years,
mm-hmm,
and that relationship has to be very strong. And like you mentioned,
mm-hmm.
all mentors, which people say some mentors are good, some mentors are bad,
Mm-hmm.
it depends on the personality, a lot of it. Some people can vibe together with, a certain group, a certain type of people. And with my own example, I can say, when I was in another lab before, I was there for quite some time, and people can easily approach that mentor, and they are moving on.
Mm-hmm.
But it was hard for me to move on with that mentor,
Mm-hmm.
and I have to decide I can't do this. And I quit. So it's like how some people can easily adapt and move on, and how some people can't. So it's kind of personal choice and kind of personal experience you have. So yeah, it's because everyone is different in their own way. So you
Yeah.
need to consider, yeah, that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this uniqueness is what makes every researcher a different researcher. Also, every human has a different way, because research is all about that. The questions are generated by a brain, but they were there forever. Like, be it any
Yeah.
topic, be it any field of research, the questions are there always. It is just one researcher seeing it in a different way with adding a new perspective, his or her own perspective, and now opens a new field of research altogether. Be it plant biology, be it animal science, be it human health. We have seen in recent past, like if speaking for last 5 years, the way field has been changed was never done for past 50 years. And this is also one thing which I believe that every researcher should keep their mind
Mm-hmm.
open, because the advancement of technology, it gives a different pace to the research in any field. 10 years ago, it was Sanger sequencing was a bigger thing. Now people do the
Yeah.
whole genome in one day. Okay. So now
Yeah.
keeping this thing, learning the technique, bringing your own question and solving towards
Yeah.
that problem. That is what every researcher should keep in their mind when they are thinking or when they are already in the field of research. So, Kaiko, now moving from lab to outside environment, we have discussed that when you are in the lab, you wanted to go to the field. That's when you realized. And this is one of the part
Right.
when a person do the SWOT analysis, that what is their strength is, what is their weaknesses, where they see opportunities. And all these things, when you did for yourself, you realize that, okay, I want to do a sandwich program where I can be in the field and in the lab, and where I can be more fruitful. So, how do you enjoy now your field? And if you can share some of the incidences or some specific thing if you want to tell.
So yeah. So you need to find that balance between having fun and working in the lab, because at one point you start getting saturated, and if you are into some kind of, if you are into any kind of work, you should
Mhm.
know how to have fun, and you should know how to have fun, and where's the opportunity to have fun. So for me, sitting in the lab every day for weeks, it's so hard, it's so hard.
Mhm.
And now what we do, and in this lab what we do was, I sit in the lab for 1 2 months, and then I get opportunity to travel in the field to collect data. and
Mhm.
and when you go out, of course, like, first things, I love plants. I just enjoy looking at plants, identifying them, and
Mhm.
looking at uh, what's happening around with the plants, like when is the flowering seasons, or what is the flowering patterns or fruiting patterns.
Mhm.
You have numbers of questions just keep flowing in you, and
Mhm.
at the same time you get to see animals, birds, butterflies,
Mhm.
and that rejuvenates you. Your major questions can be different. You have that major questions, which is your thought, which is there in the lab, but
Mhm.
you need a break. It's a kind of exposure I get while doing my work out, and I rejuvenate myself and come back to the work, to the lab again, and with more energy, I started to work on my project. So it's a kind of opportunity which give me to see outside world and come back again. And because sitting in the lab, we think, this is the world for us.
Mm-hmm.
And when we step out, people don't even care about what you do in the lab.
Mm-hmm.
So, and just outside the campus, say for example, you just step outside the campus, no one will care what you really do inside the lab.
Yes.
So it gives that opportunity for us to step out from this lab.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go to the field, you realize what's happening in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
And that gives us more opportunity to think of our questions, what we're really doing, what kind of effort we are putting is really going to impact somewhere
Mm-hmm. Seems like there is some,
perspective in the way you think.
yeah. Seems like there is some internet issues, Kaiko. Can you hear me?
I see. Okay. I can hear you. I can hear it.
Oh, perfect. So now we missed some part of your last, like some part of the conversation in there. So I want to, like, as we can see that you yourself celebrate your research, what you do in and outside of the lab, which is very important and which is the fuel which keep you going on and on and on, because it's like 4 year and then probably you'll complete your research uh, questions soon and then will be awarded and then
Yeah.
call you Dr. Kaiko. So what are your plans after this, and uh, what are you working on right now, and you want to uh, continue in your future, or you want to change, or you have a different way of uh, thinking about life after PhD?
Right. So right now, I mean, I have certain aims going ahead. So my short-term goal is to finish this PhD quickly, as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And longer term goal is, growing up from a humble community.
Mm-hmm.
I really feel I need to go back and contribute it to my community, to my society,
Mm-hmm.
because not many people get opportunity to do research in a good institute, or be it, going long further studies.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how much I can contribute, but I have my heart where I grew up, and
Mm-hmm.
I want to contribute as much as I can. So now I have got lots of experience working on different kind of problems,
Mm-hmm.
and I will definitely take up a new challenge, but the kind of things which I have already learned here in my PhD, I want to put this into field in a maybe a little different practical way. But yeah, definitely going back to where I am in my place, and want to continue. I have certain plans and projects which is running in my head,
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully I can materialize it. So it's a kind of when it when I was considering all these things, I
Mm-hmm.
have considered whether I really wanted to go do to be to continue this kind of project or this kind of research further.
Mm-hmm.
I have considered various possibilities, what I can do, what is my strength, what is my weakness.
Mm-hmm.
And after considering all that, and given that I have spent so much time in this PhD and kind of things which I have learned, I'll be much more comfortable putting the kind of things which I have learned into the field back to to the field. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where I want to focus on next.
Nice. So this is how I see this, is that you are talking about investment of your time in PhD, and now when it comes to the stage of ripening, you want to share that knowledge, you want to share that work with the community, you want to go back and give it back to the people, which is a very humble and very considerate thought, because nowadays what we are seeing is people are talking about sharing, and when they say share, it is about mostly the resources, like helping someone, giving to the
Mm,
food and all. But not many people talks about knowledge sharing. You have earned something, you have worked for a noble cause for a couple of years, and now when you feel that you are trained and you are equipped enough, you are going back and giving back that to the society and to the community. This is what uh, all of us should feel responsible for, and we say and we convey all our good wishes to you, and you will be for sure successful in there.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you.
and so that you can be a role model for many more to motivate to do science and to do some translational work in the to help the community. With this, now let's talk about the role of family and friends during your journey.
Sure. So I'll start with my family first. So when I finished my master, of course, they my parents or yeah, my parents want me to get a job so that I can also start supporting the family.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, when I started continuing in research, they did not give me any hindrance in between. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, they're here and there. They say how long you're going to finish your PhD,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, but they my family were quite supportive,
Mm-hmm.
and they appreciate what I do, and they think what I decided to do is the best I have decided for myself. So they were supportive in that.
Mm-hmm.
And with friends, like of course it's very different kind of friends you started getting along the way. Your
Mm-hmm.
master's friends, and then now your childhood friends, and your PhD colleagues.
Mm-hmm.
When I look back my childhood friends, they also still appreciate, oh, you're doing something different from what other people do,
Mm-hmm.
because normally not many people pick up research and spending a lot of time
Yes.
uh, in research or doing studies.
Mm-hmm.
So if I say I'm doing research, I'm doing studies, people think, oh, you are still studying. People thought after graduate master, the studies are over. And in fact, one I remember one friend told me, haven't you finished learning ABC one to 10? What are you still learning?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a kind of different emotions coming in with your friends, and now with your research colleagues. It's mind blowing. You have different types of people with different kind of experience you have already in your field, and you started discussing ideas and visions,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when you started getting the real motivations from your friends, because and you see some people. I wanted to be a role model, but and I picked this up from people who I see model. For example, I see my mentor, my seniors as a role model first, and
Mm-hmm.
I want to become like them. I want to you be successful or do something important like these people. So the influence started building up from this community, from these friends. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's quite a journey, and you need to have balance of your different types of friends,
Mm-hmm.
so that you don't get saturated.
Yes.
When you are sitting with your PhD friends, you only discuss science, 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 and sometimes you started feeling, okay, maybe I want to get out of this.
That's
I want to get. I need another community to think or to talk. So you need that kind of balance. Sometimes you hang out with your non-scientific, non-science friends
mm-hmm.
and talk about something different.
Yes.
And then when it matters, when you want to discuss, yeah. So you need to keep this friendship balance, and yeah, you should not. Uh, you should not. I mean, what I'm trying to say is you should keep all these friends around you so that you can get motivated enough to move ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that is a very valid point because I remember being in research for a long time and people asking that you are still studying because they don't consider that you are working because for them it's not a job. Job is different,
Yeah.
research is different. So I know I think all of our our researcher community get this question asked by their friends who doesn't belong to that. But one important thing is like they do acknowledge the amount of efforts we all put in, either it is
Mm-hmm.
PhD or it is any other part of research, another kind of research. Even if we are not doing PhD and
Yeah.
doing different research, they do respect if you can communicate your research with them, that what are the questions you are working on, and then how the humanity will be benefited out of that. So that's when they give
Right.
you all the due credit. Okay, they appreciate your work, they respect your work more. But this is also one of the things which at Researcher Celebrity we want to do, that when you are sharing your opinion, when you are listening from others, your peers, and coming from different background, different perspectives, it gives you a broader picture that research is not only doing your experiments individually or just talking to your friends who are all researchers or scientist community. And this is very good point, which when you said that you should be talking to your non-science friends also, which sometimes
Yeah.
can be
Yeah.
nonsense also. They do talk nonsense, which is fine because that's what we want from them at that point of time.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
you would want science
Very much.
sense at some point to take a break, rejuvenate yourself.
Yeah.
Also, something which you mentioned is very important. So now towards the uh, almost the end of the conversation, what Kaiko has to suggest the budding researchers or upcoming new stage of researchers, what should they consider when they want to do a PhD or they don't want to do a PhD
Mhm.
but want to be a researcher? What are the key points or the bullets you want to give it to them?
Right. So, okay, multiple things. First thing, if you want to do research, seriously consider the first thing you need to start researching is your mentor. That's very important. And second thing, many times we think going to research or doing PhD, you think you don't have enough skills or techniques.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the time when you need to invest in yourself, and you need to find a way to refine yourself to get, because that's in your hand, the kind of problems. If you have certain problems seeing and you want to tackle it,
Mm-hmm.
if you have the capability to do it, it's in your hand. So try this period of research or PhD. Give this period of PhD also gives you a time to refine on certain methods and techniques you want to follow ahead. Like say for examples, I'm not really good in maths,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't really enjoy maths. But doing ecology, you need to know statistics. Unless you give with numbers, you
Mm-hmm.
can say anything about the nature, this that, but you have to validate it with numbers. So statistics become very important, and I was struggling initially, and I started putting effort. I need to learn statistics,
Mm-hmm.
and it gives me time to uh, refine myself, learn, break down little by little, and learn myself. And uh, I also pick up like GIS,
Mm-hmm.
some kind of techniques which I really wanted to. So if I'm not into research or PhD, I would not have sit down and break those things to understand and put it in my head. But it gave me an opportunity to refine myself. So it don't think that you don't know enough,
Mm-hmm.
and don't move back. Think that this is an opportunity to learn that skill, because you will have some time to build up on those skills. And third thing, it's very important to uh, collaborate with people. You go into research, certain times or many at many places, people used to say, don't share your research with people because people will steal your work.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
The kind of effort you're putting in, and there's so many questions you can ask.
Yes.
You won't imagine. Once you get into it, you will know how many questions you need to ask. So
Mm-hmm.
don't scare that people will ask, people will steal your work.
Mm-hmm.
And don't stop talking about science or what you do, because the more you talk, the more questions people ask you, the more finer you can get to the answer you want to answer to the questions. So try to collaborate as many as with people, and try to uh, yeah try to expand your science, your understanding of science. So try to collaborate. Yeah, and yeah, these are the things I want to mention. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Kaiko. It was very informative, and I believe all of our viewers get benefit out of your experience, your journey. They can learn and then they can walk on their path. So here I can congratulate you and I can thanks for your time at this point of time. Obviously, we'll be in touch, and if any of our viewers have a question, they can either directly contact you or they can ask us, and we can put you in the mentorship program now, where you can just share and channelize the researchers, your energy to researchers, and then so that they can achieve their path. Thank you very much for your time, Kaiko, and good luck with your PhD.
Thank you so much, Raja. Thank you so much, Raja. Yeah.